Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm grateful to API West Bengal for allowing me to speak on the management of hepatitis C. My talk will be restricted to the national guidelines which have been laid down by the National Viral Hepatitis Control Program, and around 6 to 12 million people in India are suffering from chronic hepatitis C infection. And as we all know, that acute infection often goes unnoticed or undiagnosed. Next slide, please. Next slide. But there is a very high rate of development of chronic infection and chronic hepatitis, which may ultimately lead to cirrhosis and hepatocellular carcinoma in a significant percentage of people. Next slide. The most important message for this presentation is that when hepatitis C infection is diagnosed and confirmed, one has to treat it because hepatitis C infection is curable in more than 95% of cases. What are the benefits? The other benefits are that it decreases mortality, morbidity, and decreases conversion to cirrhosis, cancer, and liver failure. Next. So, free of cost, the program is giving this benefit to people that diagnostic facilities and treatment with very efficacious drugs will be provided to people. The screening test is the anti-ACV antibody test done by ELISA. Next. Which, if it comes positive, has to be confirmed by the PCR technique, a quantitative ACV RNA estimation. Next. Now, the program has identified the priority population. However, I must emphasize that anybody who is accessing the treatment centers, 30 of which are there in the whole of the state, they are accessible to free diagnostic proceedings. However, some populations are more vulnerable, like the drug injectors, men who have sex with men, and people who are on blood transfusions and dialysis. Next. First, once you have diagnosed a person to be having chronic hepatitis C infection, you need to evaluate the patient for choosing what drugs are to be given. So take a detailed history of alcohol addiction or other addictions, whether that person has other comorbidities, any chronic drug intake is present or not, a full systemic examination, and especially to look for any extrahepatic manifestations which are notorious to occur in hepatitis C, whether they are present or not. Next. Now, a battery of investigations have been set forth to assess a patient of hepatitis C infection. The bare minimum are being listed here: a complete hemogram, including the platelet count, the liver function test, prothrombin time, renal function, serology of other viruses, followed by imaging. And if your patient indeed is diagnosed to be cirrhotic, then you go for an upper GI endoscopy and alpha fetoprotein. Next. Now, the thing is, we need to assess the stage of fibrosis of the liver, and the gold standard is the liver biopsy. But it is, as we all know, a risky and invasive procedure. So some simple scoring systems have been devised which can be calculated by downloading those score calculators in any smartphone. So we have the APRI score, which takes into account the AST and the platelet count. And if the value is greater than 2, we know that the patient has developed cirrhosis. Next is the FIB-4 score, where the age, AST, platelet count, and ALT are taken into account. And here also you can calculate. And if it is greater than 3.25, then the person has already developed significant fibrosis and cirrhosis. Transient elastography, or the common name is FibroScan, is not available everywhere, but if it is available, it is a very good non-invasive way of assessing fibrosis. Next. If you have ultimately established that the patient must be having cirrhosis, now you need to divide whether this patient is a compensated case of cirrhosis or he has become a high-grade decompensated case. And for that, we have the Child-Pugh score. And in this, it is a class A can be categorized as compensated, and class B and C will be going to the decompensated group of patients. Next. Okay, so this is the most important slide of my presentation, where I am emphasizing that the days of interferon therapy are bygone and the directly acting antivirals have been becoming the first line treatment of hepatitis C infection. They are pan-genotypic oral drugs being provided free of cost to those patients who have been diagnosed to have chronic hepatitis C infection. Next. So who are we going to treat? We are going to treat each and every patient who has been diagnosed to have a hepatitis C viremia. Next. So what are the drugs at our disposal? We have sofosbuvir, daclitazine, combination of sofosbuvir with velpatasvir, and in certain group of patients, we may need to give ribavirin. Now this drug ribavirin is to be carefully used and taken into account many factors which I'll come to later. Next. Okay, so the national guidelines have given a basic 3 regimens for the management of hepatitis C positive patients. Regimen 1 in patients who do not have cirrhosis, regimen 2 who have compensated cirrhosis, and regimen 3 with decompensated cirrhosis. Having said that, I have to stress upon the fact that this is a very simplistic classification of hepatitis C treatment. There are patients who are complicated or who have coexisting diseases. And in those patients, treatment has to be individualized under the mentorship of specialists in a model or apex center. Next. So again, what is regimen 1? Regimen 1 for the uncomplicated hepatitis C infected patients, they have to be given sofosbuvir with daclitazine daily for 84 days, that is 12 weeks. This 12 week is not very long, it is a finite duration, and this is the duration for which we are going to treat our patients. Next. Yes, compensated cirrhosis patients who are Child-Pugh class A, they will be given a combination of sofosbuvir and velpatasvir for the same duration, 12 weeks. Next. Yes, decompensated cirrhosis patients are the complicated patients. So these will be not treated in any of the simple treatment centers, but referred to a model treatment center or the apex center, where the regimen, which is regimen 3, will be sofosbuvir plus velpatasvir plus ribavirin. Some patients may be intolerant to ribavirin. In that case, the 12-week duration is doubled to 24 weeks. Next. So what is sustained virologic response 12? It means that at 12 weeks, you have to repeat the RNA estimation of hepatitis C. And if the virus is not detected at 12 weeks, it means the patient has achieved sustained virologic response 12. This is the goal of treatment of hepatitis C. Next. Who are the patients whom you will refer to specialists? They are the decompensated cirrhosis patients, patients who are having experience of treatment, means treatment failure, patients who have been on chemo, impaired renal function, cancer patients, thalassemics. Next. So to drive home my points, these are a set of 3 imaginary cases. One is a 40-year-old female who was scheduled for a lipoma resection. Now, pre-op serology revealed a positive anti-HCV antibody, negative for the other viruses. She was having fatigue and no other definite symptom. Next. Her examination just revealed the lipoma on her back, otherwise normal. Next. Yes. So this is just a glimpse of some of the investigations where we see she has mildly elevated transaminases. Her P time is normal. She underwent a confirmatory test and the ACV RNA was detectable. Next. Yes, we did the USG. There was hepatomegaly. At the scores calculated, APRI score was 0.69, FIB4 was 1.44. So this patient does not have cirrhosis. She has a non-cirrhotic chronic HCV infection. And next, she needs treatment with regimen 1. Next. 50-year-old male presented to the OPD with anorexia, fatigue, weight loss, was an occasional drinker. Though there was no other history of bleeding, hospital admission or prior jaundice, and he did not have any icterus or ascites or organomegaly. Next. On these investigations, we find that the platelet count is around 1 lakh. It is expressed as in the form of 10 to the power 9 per liter. For our convenience, bilirubin 1.6, ALT 58, AST also raised 84. Next. Well, her ultrasound revealed a heterogeneous ecotexture of liver and the ACV RNA was positive. We also did an endoscopy which gave grade 2 varix. Next. So here, after calculating, we found that the APRI score was greater than 2 and FIB4 was also quite high. We next found out that the CTP score or child pulse score was around 5. So this patient is a case of compensated cirrhosis and as I have mentioned, will receive regimen 2. Next. The case 3, I'll be very short. She's a 36-year-old woman who was pregnant with a prior history of cesarean section. Next. She had a palpable liver. Next. Her transaminases are slightly raised. Otherwise, she has no other abnormality except that her hepatitis C RNA was detectable. Next. What to do? Nothing. We will do nothing in her case at the moment because therapy that is being offered for hepatitis C is totally contraindicated in pregnancy and lactation. So we will tell her that you please come back after your lactation period is over and then we will start her on therapy. The baby has to be screened after 18 months because the maternal antibodies may be present in her blood before that period. Though for children, treatment is not offered before 18 years. Next. Now, the side effects of the directly acting antivirals are not very much: fatigue, headache, diarrhea, depression, insomnia. Next. But this drug ribavirin, one has to keep in mind that it causes anemia. So if hemoglobin becomes less than 10, you have to reduce its dose. If it is less than 8.5, we have to discontinue. Moreover, it is contraindicated in pregnancy, as also if renal eGFR is less than 50 ml per minute per 1.72 meters square, and it has to be adjusted also according to body weight. Next. Caution is, of course, about women of childbearing potential, where there should be effective contraception during treatment, and also for 6 months after completion of therapy, we should see whether she's pregnant or not. Also, in patients of renal insufficiency and hemodialysis, we have to monitor the patients, and if patient is taking amiodarone, we should not give sofosbuvir. Next. Okay, next. Since time is short, I will not be delving into the co-infections at present. Next. 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 Okay. So when we are treating the patients, the non-cirrhotic patient needs to come at fourth week and get the LFT, CBC and creatinine and be counseled about adherence. If he is cirrhotic, it has to be a more frequent follow-up along with counseling. We will repeat the RNA after 12 weeks. Next. This is important. We have to counsel and see indeed if the patient is adherent to the pills or not by counting, actually counting the number of pills that the patient has returned. Next. So follow up. If your patient is non-cirrhotic and has SVR 12 after 12 weeks of completion, you don't need to follow up. Next. But if the patient has cirrhosis, then you have to look for HCC every 6 months and for varices by endoscopy if it were present at pre-treatment. Next. So to summarize, we have to diagnose first. If we get the antibody positive, we confirm it by the RNA estimation. Next. Then we have to treat every patient according to their degree of fibrosis by different very efficacious pan-genotypic regimens. Next. We have to do the HCV RNA at the end of 12 weeks. If it is not detected, then the treatment is complete. If it is detected, then it means it is a failure of treatment. I have to refer it to the Apex Center. Next. Thank you.